Clarke Waggaman. Daniel Boone Clarke Waggaman, November 16, 1877, October 3, 1919, was an architect, designer, and lawyer. He designed residences, apartments, commercial buildings, townhouses, and country estates throughout America, most notably the Washington, D.C. districts, Dupont Circle, Sheridan Kalorama, Massachusetts Ave. Heights, West End, and Connecticut Ave. Waggaman's 12-year career included a short 2-year partnership with George Nicholas Ray before Waggaman's untimely death. Together, the two redefined several buildings along the corridor of Connecticut Avenue, including Waggaman-Ray Commercial Row. The first project by the two partners was at 1904-1000 906 Street in W. Early years. Family. Daniel Boone Clarke Waggaman was born on November 16, 1877, at his family's home of 1008 13th Street in Washington, D.C., to Thomas and Alice Waggaman, December 17, 1839, June 27, 1906, and Mary Agnes Clarke Waggaman, 1850, December 4, 1880. He was named after his maternal grandfather, Dr. Daniel Boone Clarke, and grew up in Georgetown with his two siblings and later four half-siblings. The Waggamans were a wealthy, established Maryland family. At age 7, the Waggaman family moved to 3300 Street in Georgetown. Clarke's father, Thomas E. Waggaman, worked as a real estate broker and was once considered one of the wealthiest men in D.C. at the height of his career. He used his growing wealth to invest in art and public projects, most notably having one of the first art collections in the United States to include works of French artists Millet and Corot. Their private gallery was housed in the adjoining building to their home at what is now 3340 Street. In addition, T.E. Waggaman's real estate investments included several prominent properties in the D.C. region, including Woodley Park, owner from 1888 904, Wesley Heights, Morris Addition, and Pennsylvania Avenue Heights. However, in 1904, Thomas E. Waggaman declared bankruptcy and moved from Washington to Annapolis, MD, where he later passed 2 years later. Despite his family's bankruptcy, which resulted in a public auction of the Waggaman family's art collection, Clarke Waggaman received a large inheritance from his maternal grandfather and namesake just 2 years later. This inheritance would form the financial backing for Clarke Waggaman's architectural career. Education. Until the age of 12, Waggaman attended Georgetown Preparatory School, which at the time was part of Georgetown College, Georgetown University. Upon his parents' divorce in 1889, Waggaman moved to Europe and studied under a private French tutor. Although his European education explored a number of topics, he became particularly fascinated by architecture, especially French and Italian classicism. His French tutor encouraged Waggaman to continue his architectural pursuits, although it would be several years before Waggaman formally did so. Waggaman moved back to Washington, D.C. to pursue a law degree on the insistence of his father. In 1901, Waggaman graduated from Catholic University. Marriage. In 1898, Clarke Waggaman met his future wife and fellow Washingtonian native, Grace Knowlton, while studying in Europe. The two courted for 2 years before returning home to Washington, D.C. They were married at his grandfather's farm, called Valley View, located on Foxhall Road. They had a son, Walcott Clarke Waggaman, who went on to become an architect like his father. Career. Early career. After graduating law school, Clarke Waggaman worked as an attorney for his father's business until its bankruptcy in 1905. Only after his father's real estate business went bankrupt did Waggaman begin to pursue the practice of architecture. In 1906, Waggaman inherited a large sum of money from his maternal grandfather and namesake. This substantial fortune formed the financial stability that allowed Waggaman to establish his own architectural practice. At the age of 28 years old, Waggaman's first architectural project was a personal project in Woodley Park, where he and his family lived until 1917. The property was located 2600 Connecticut Avenue, and W now demolished. During Waggaman's early career, the Dupont Circle area was booming as cheap land prices and the widening of Connecticut Avenue encouraged several wealthy Northerners, including senators, to build winter homes. Waggaman's prior experience in his father's real estate business provided him with a strong network of clientele. His interest in French and Italian classicism was especially appreciated by these wealthy clients, and he was soon receiving commissions for both townhouses and country estates. Partnership. In 1917, Waggaman combined his talents by partnering with George N. Ray, who was formally trained in architecture at the University of Pennsylvania. Like Waggaman, Ray shared an affinity for French classicism, the École des Beaux-Arts, and the City Beautiful movement. Their firm, Waggaman and Ray, greatly influenced the architectural style of D.C. Dupont Circle and Kalorama neighborhoods. Several of their projects involved renovating Victorian buildings with classical, limestone facades, and the two are accredited with unifying the architectural style of Connecticut Avenue's commercial buildings. Legacy. Death. In 1919, Clarke Waggaman contracted the 1918 flu pandemic and died shortly after. He was 42 years old. Selected works. During the span of his 12-year career as an architect, Waggaman designed an impressive 135 buildings, several of which are currently protected as National Historic Place or Elephant Trust Historic Properties. Several surviving buildings can be found throughout various neighborhoods of D.C., most prominently Dupont Circle. The following buildings in Washington, D.C. are known projects of Clarke Waggaman or Waggaman and Ray. Washington, D.C. Residences Plus buildings. Demolished. 2600 Connecticut Avenue 1905. Alterations at 1815 Q Street. Surviving. Asterisk buildings were sourced from the Library of Congress, although dates are sometimes approximate. 2026 are sent in W 1907 and even renovated by C. Waggaman in 1915, currently home to interior designer Mary Douglas Drysdale and her interior design practice. 1716 New Hampshire Avenue in W 1910. 1530 Connecticut Avenue 1910, 2134 Leroy Place in W 1911, 1715 in Street in W circa 1911, 11, 1738 M Street in W circa 1910-1916, 1752 M Street in W circa 1910-1916, 1754 M Street, N.W. circa 1910-1916, 1756 M Street, N.W. circa 1910-1916, 724 18th Street, 263 N Street, N.W. WWW 2208 Massachusetts Avenue, 1711 New Hampshire Avenue 1911, 1818 R Street in WW 1820 R Street, NW 1911, 1824 R Street, NW 1911, 1825 R Street, NW 1911-1912, 1826 R Street, NW 1911. 5 row houses for Harry Kite, 19th Street and R Street, in W 1915, including 1719 19th Street in W. 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 2300 Wyoming Avenue, formerly U Street, in W 1912. 2122 Leroy Place, in W 1912. 2124 Leroy Place, in W 1912. Row House at 17th Street and New Hampshire Avenue 1912. 1734 New Hampshire Avenue 1912. 1735 New Hampshire Avenue 1912. 1736 New Hampshire Avenue 1912. 1710 H Street in W. 1827 19th Street in W 1913. 1147 Connecticut Avenue in W 1913. 2340-2342 Massachusetts Avenue in W 1913. 1715 18th Street in W 1913. 1627 New Hampshire Avenue circa 1913-1914, currently home to the Embassy of Nicaragua. 1600 New Hampshire Avenue in W 1913-1914, currently home to the Embassy of Argentina. 1905 Kalorama Road in W 1914. Residence at Biltmore Street and Cliffborn Street / Place 1914. McCreer Stores at 14th Street and K Street 1914. 1638 Connecticut Avenue in W 1914. Dunn Residence on Massachusetts Avenue 1914. 2114 Leroy Place in W 1914-1915. St. Thomas Church, 1324 New Hampshire Avenue 1914-1918. Office building for William Hitz at Connecticut Avenue and L Street in W 1914. 2 residences at 19th Street and R Street circa 1915-1917. Housing development at 20th Street and Belmont Street in W 1915. 2019 R Street in W 1915. Storefront between 13th Street and 14th Street 1915. 1744 Arsent in W 1915. 2000 G Street in W 1915. Wilkins Building, 1512 H Street in W 1915. Store building on H Street in W between 13th and 14th Street 1915. 1523 New Hampshire Avenue 1915. 2025 Hillier Place in W 1916. 1919 19th Street in W 1916. 1207 Connecticut Avenue 1916. 1209 Connecticut Avenue 1916. 1211 Connecticut Avenue 1916. 1213 Connecticut Avenue 1916. 1217 Connecticut Avenue in W 1916. 1533 New Hampshire Avenue 1916. 2126 Bancroft Place in W 1916. 1612 21st Street 1917. 1614 21st Street 1917. 1904-1906 R Street in W 1917. 2929 Massachusetts Avenue in W 1917. 1141-1143 Connecticut Avenue in W 1917. 1512-1520 Connecticut Avenue in W 1917. 1617 Massachusetts Avenue 1917. 1302 18th Street in W 1917. Residence at Massachusetts Avenue and 30th Street in W 1917-1918. Williams Residence at Massachusetts Avenue and 30th Street in W circa 1917-1918. 2346 S. Saint in W 1918. Other buildings. Toledo Club Building, 14th Street and Madison Street, Toledo, Ohio 1912-1913. Noyes Estate, Sligo now Silver Spring, Maryland. Alterations to the Montgomery Country Club, Montgomery, Maryland. Summer Camp Plus Village Hall at Bradley Boulevard, Offutt Road, and Rockville Great Falls Road, Bradley Hills now Bethesda, Maryland. William T. Davis Residence at Ridgeway Avenue and Thornapple Road, Chevy Chase, Maryland. A. H. Davis Residence, Watch Hill, Rhode Island 1915. Johnson Residence, Watch Hill, Rhode Island 1915-1916. McKenney Residence, Kensington, Maryland 1914. References